So the jury wanted to have read back, oh yes, the jury instructions. We all know why. They didn't understand anything because New York State doesn't allow the jurors to take the jury instructions back into the room with them. So it's, my God, this is so confusing. It's not like, did he sell pot or didn't he, right? It's like, good Lord, they have so many steps to go through. So they did that. And then they wanted to hear read back certain portions of the testimony. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts on what we can glean from what they wanted. They wanted certain sections of David Pecker's testimony, the guy who was running AMI, the National Enquirer, and they wanted a little bit of Michael Cohen's testimony as relates to one meeting he allegedly had with David Pecker. They're definitely interested in David Pecker. And my note to myself reads, could the AMI payment to Karen McDougal carry the day? Like that was my takeaway, having read the portions that they wanted to hear. And this is where it got me. This jury may not be putting as much weight on Stormy Daniels as the rest of us did. They may be going with the theory that was argued quite a bit by the prosecutor in his closing, which did spend a lot of time on Karen McDougal, the catch and kill scheme, that was the word used. And like the whole thing, they try, even though we've all been focused on Stormy, the prosecution did argue that the whole thing with AMI was part of this alleged illegal scheme, even though Pecker's done it for many other politicians, including Democrat Rahm Emanuel. But okay. And they wanted to hear Pecker's testimony as follows, that Donald Trump acknowledged, this is David Pecker telling the jurors, this is what they had read back to them in part. Donald Trump acknowledged to me that he had spoken to Michael Cohen and acknowledged to me that he knew Karen McDougal and said she's a nice girl. All right, so this was Pecker sort of saying, I recognize the story about Karen McDougal allegedly having a year-long affair with Trump was probably true, because his response when asked was, she's a nice girl. David Pecker, let's say that he testified that Donald Trump, he recommended that Donald Trump buy Karen McDougal's story, and that Michael Cohen called David Pecker back and told Pecker, go ahead and do it, buy it. And that this was on behalf of Donald Trump. This is what David Pecker said he understood. He testified again that he believed the McDougal story and that he thought it would embarrass Donald Trump and hurt his campaign, both. And he recommended that they buy it, and then Cohen called him back and said, do it, go ahead and do it. And that he understood that was Trump's okay. Then David Pecker said, the reason I bought the negative stories on Trump was to avoid personal embarrassment to him and to help his campaign. On cross-examination, they tried to bring out that his memory wasn't perfect, that these events happened a long time ago. And they got into, overall, this is still direct, David Pecker decided that he did not want to be repaid for Karen McDougal's story after he paid her $150,000 for it. And this is something I missed first time around, guys. There was a reason he didn't want to be repaid. It's not that David Pecker had unlimited funds to spend for Donald Trump. It's that he started to get scared that he was going to be in trouble for making an illegal campaign donation. And there was testimony to that effect, that in David Pecker's mind, he had some worries after consulting with a lawyer about seeking reimbursement. He thought it would be too on the nose, and it would underscore that this really was a deal to reimburse him for something, a contribution he made to Trump, and that he just decided to eat it. Now, that doesn't put that knowledge in Donald Trump's mind, that, holy shit, we might be violating election law, which is what they need to do. The prosecution needs to get in Donald Trump's head. We're violating the law right now with this agreement. They haven't done that, but there is testimony by Pecker that he had concerns, and I'll just give you some of it here. Question by the prosecutor: did you come to appreciate the legalities surrounding such an arrangement with a political candidate? Answer: yes. That was the first time I ever came across a political contribution, what a violation was. Objection sustained. He asked again, well, what did you in your mind take away from that experience that you had as a result of the Arnold Schwarzenegger situation? And he said, based on what happened 14 years ago, meaning with Schwarzenegger, I wanted it, meaning with Trump, to be comfortable that the agreement we were going to prepare for Karen McDougal met all the obligations with respect to a campaign contribution. Did there come a time when someone at AMI consulted with an election law attorney? Yes. I called Michael Cohen. I told him that we finalized the agreement with Karen McDougal, that the contract was bulletproof, and we consulted with a campaign attorney. Question, and to your knowledge, what did the campaign attorney review? Answer, the agreement, meaning the contract, yes. And then just a little bit more. Were you aware that expenditures by corporations made for the purpose of influencing an election, made in coordination with or at the request of a candidate or a campaign, are unlawful? Answer, yes. Question, did either you or AMI ever report to the Federal Election Commission in 2016 that AMI had made a $150,000 payment to Karen McDougal? Answer, no, we did not. Why did AMI make this purchase of Karen McDougal's story? We purchased the story so it wouldn't be published by any other organization. And why did you not want it to be published by any other org? We didn't want the story to embarrass Mr. Trump or embarrass or hurt the campaign. When you say we, who's we? Myself and Mr. Cohen. But for Mr. Cohen's promise to withdrawn. But for Mr. Cohen's promise that Mr. Trump would reimburse AMI, would you have entered into this agreement? No. Did you have any discussions with anyone in the Trump camp about Donald Trump reimbursing AMI for the money paid to Karen? I did. I had conversations with Michael Cohen. All right, so that's a long lead up to you guys. That seems to be what the jury's interested in this morning. Dave, what's your take on it?
Well, good to be back with you, Megyn. First time back since your Bill Maher interview, which I thought was riveting, by the way. Well
thank
done.
You.
Yeah, I love how you have diverse viewpoints on, like mine. And good to be back with Mike. I do think the questions are good for the prosecution because, as you set forth, they are framed in the prosecution's narrative, their story of the case, their theory of the case, rather than the defense's. If they had asked questions about Michael Cohen's credibility and about that controversial phone call where the 14-year-old was trolling him, then I think that would benefit the defense. But these are questions to buttress the prosecution's story, and it looks like they may have a couple of holdouts, and this is a way of trying to get them to go along. But yeah, you're right that the phone call with Pecker while he was at the investor meeting is really important because that's where the prosecutor said that Trump deputized Cohen right in front of Pecker so that Pecker knows that any go-ahead from Cohen is a go-ahead from Trump. That ties Trump directly to the scheme. So it makes it impossible for the defense to claim that Cohen was acting on his own. And I think it's important that when Pecker spoke about this, he talked 3 times about this call while he was on the stand. And he said that he told Trump that, I still think you should buy the Karen McDougal story. And then Trump said to me, this is according to Pecker, I'll speak to Michael and he'll get back to you. So I think that's really important. And then you're right about Pecker and the $125,000 rather than $150,000. That was a blow up with Michael Cohen, that Pecker decided to back out of the deal where they were going to assign Karen McDougal's life rights back to Michael Cohen and Donald Trump in exchange for $125,000. And when Pecker backed out of the deal, he said that Cohen blew up and said the boss is going to be really upset about this. So this is all a way to tie Trump directly to the scheme itself. So I think this is good for the prosecution.
What do you think, Mike? They're very interested in the catch and kill scheme from the sound of it.
Yeah, they're very interested in that, but guess what? That's not a crime. It is not a crime to run a catch and kill scheme. It's not a crime to settle a nuisance claim. There's not a crime here, and that's the problem with this entire prosecution. They did not explain to President Trump, the criminal defendants, throughout the entirety of his criminal trial, what the legal allegations were against him. They did not explain those legal allegations until the very end. And then this Judge Merchan, this corrupt Judge Merchan, who made an illegal campaign contribution to Biden that got him reprimanded from the New York court system, we found out several months ago. This judge's daughter is raising millions of dollars off of this case. This judge did not explain to the jury what the legal allegations are until the very end. And then these legal allegations are you can pick one thing, you can pick another thing, or you can pick another thing. You don't have to be unanimous. And that's the problem with this whole trial. It is fundamentally unconstitutional. It's fundamentally unfair against President Trump, and they don't care. I mean, the fact that the jurors are asking this question, it shows you that they're not being guided by the law. This judge has not done his job in instructing the jurors on what the law is and what is actually relevant, what facts actually matter.
What's interesting to me is that there might be some disagreement at all. Like, you could have thought that a New York jury would go back there and say, well, I think he's guilty. Does anyone disagree? And everybody's like, nope, I agree. And they could have come right back out with a guilty. So there's a smidgen of hope in here for Trump in that they wanted to hear the instructions back. They wanted to hear testimony read back. They're definitely struggling with, has the prosecution met all the elements and what is the proof that will get us there? It's not at least been a knee-jerk, he's guilty, right? Everyone agree? Right. If you watch Dateline as much as I do, you know that does happen in the most persuasive cases. It doesn't take the jury very long. I'm sure you guys have had trials like that where it's really not too tough and the jury comes right back. This at least is not that, Dave. And yet, when you hear the actual substance of what they want to hear back, it does sound more pro-prosecution than pro-defense. But there's also the possibility that they wanted all this focus on Pecker's testimony because he was witness number one. Maybe they're just going through it chronologically.
Very true. And reading the tea leaves is often a fool's errand. And so we're doing the best we can. But yes, you're absolutely right. That could be the case. There are reports that there is at least one juror who is very sympathetic to Trump, who was smiling when J.D. Vance walked in the room, the senator from Ohio, and was very pleased when other Republicans entered the courtroom. So that could be a holdout juror, and we just don't know.
As we draw near another critical election, it's not just about casting your vote. It's about elevating your voice. I want to tell you about the Association of Mature American Citizens, or AMAC. That's more than just a senior discount organization. They unite like-minded patriots committed to preserving our cherished values and actively opposing the leftist agenda. As AMAC's membership grows, Washington listens. Every new member strengthens this movement. If you love America, check out amac.us/Megyn and consider becoming a 4-year member for just $30. AMAC membership gives you access to the AMAC magazine, free Social Security and Medicare guidance, money-saving discounts, trusted news, sweepstakes, and more. Take advantage of their election year sale, 4 years for just $30. By joining the over 2 million members, get your voice heard. Join now at amac.us/Megyn. That's amac.us/MEGYN. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.